Good Shabbos, everyone. I woke up this morning, as many of you did, to news of yet another anti-Semitic incident, this one closer to home in our own community, and I felt compelled to talk about the scourge of anti-Semitism in our community, in our nation, in our world. But I was torn, because I knew that young people would be here. And I knew that my colleagues over the last several weeks have given really powerful, insightful, incisive, important sermons on the topic. And the young people would be here. And I didn't want to give the impression to them that the central aspect of being Jewish is that there are evil idiots out there that hate us without cause. And I was torn. And so I sat down to read the Torah portion, as I do, and I realized that it was beshert, it was a message, because this Torah portion, Vayetze, contains my very favorite line in the entire Torah, perhaps in the entire tradition, and the reason that I love being Jewish. And so I thought that I would ask you to go back and listen to the sermons that my colleagues gave over the last several weeks, and that I would take a different approach this evening. Because it is these words that make me love Judaism. You know the Vayetze, Jacob is running from his brother, from his family. He's upset, he's tired, he lays down on some rocks, and he has a dream. And he sees a ladder, a sulam, and he sees angels of God up and down the ladder. He wakes up and he says, Achen, yesh Adonai b'makom hazev anochi lo yadati. Behold, God was in this place and I did not know it. God was in this place and I did not know it. Now, I often talk about this passage as the very first Kabbalistic or mystical passage in our tradition. Most people would say it's from the Talmud. In the Talmud, there's the story of the four great sages who go up to the Pardes, go up to the garden, go up to God's presence. One of them comes down and goes crazy. One of them becomes a heretic. One dies. It's dangerous. And only the Rabbi Akiva comes down unscathed. But I believe this is actually the first Kabbalistic text. And it's not just in Judaism that the idea of a ladder is powerful in terms of going into God's presence. I had a professor, Rabbi Gewirtz, Dr. Gewirtz of blessed memory, who told the story of being a young graduate student at Harvard. And he happened to be on an airplane with a professor of Hinduism. And he was telling this professor about an experiment that they were doing in the psychology department at Harvard. Basically, they were putting students into a room, dark room, no sound, no input, and they were teaching them a very simple form of meditation. Close your eyes, focus wherever, and then they asked the students what they saw. And many of the students saw what you would see if you closed your eyes, undifferentiated lights. But many of them reported that they got to a point where they saw some sort of chute or ladder, and that many of them became afraid, but some actually went up the ladder and there was a pastoral scene. Remember, in Judaism, it's called the Pardes, the garden. And the Hindu professor grabs Dr. Gewirtz's arm and says, "They must stop this experiment right away." And Dr. Gewirtz says, "Why?" And he says, "Because that ladder, that tunnel, that is the passageway of the souls. And if they go up that passageway without a guru, and that's what a guru is, without a guide, to guide them back down, their souls could be lost in the Pardes, in the garden." So it's not just Judaism that has this tradition, but we have it very powerfully. So for instance, in Sefer Hechalot, which is a mystical book focusing on what's called Merkava mysticism or chariot mysticism. That will be for another sermon, another time. It says that if you know the secrets of the Kabbalah, that going up to God's presence, it's called veikut, communing with God, is as easy as if you had a ladder in your backyard and you could just climb up and down it, like those angels in Jacob's dream. As easy as climbing. Now at 65, I should not be on ladders in the first place, so it's still a little dangerous, but nonetheless, as easy as climbing up a ladder. And here's why I love this passage. Because I don't believe that you need mysticism or any special tricks or training to climb that ladder that's right in your backyard. You don't have to. All you need to do is to sit in this sanctuary and listen to the Teen Tefillah team sing, and I promise you'll be transported to a different place, to a higher level. Am I right? Shake your heads at this point. Yes, absolutely. They're even shaking their heads on the camera out there, by the way. All you need to do is listen to these young people sing from their kishkas, from their souls, and you are transported. And if that doesn't work for you, first of all, you probably need some serious therapy, but we'll get into that another time. If that doesn't work for you, I have a guaranteed way to transport yourself to God's presence. All you have to do is hold your newborn granddaughter in your arms for the first time. And if her name happens to be Adina, it's guaranteed that you get to God's presence. Absolutely. Now, I know I promised 2 weeks ago that I would not kvel about my granddaughter on this bima for a long time. I lied. Just so you know, I lied. But I like to say that there is no such thing as an atheist in a birthing room. It's true for adoptive parents, for grandparents as well. When you hold that baby in your arms for the first time, you recognize that this is not just a chance combination of pre-existing matter and physical principles as Darwin would have it. This is all of that and something more, something amazing and more, something magical. And you are transported to God's presence through your love of that child. And of course, there are other ways. You can listen to one of Rabbi Loss's sermons. That's one of the ways. You can be out in nature. You can see an altruistic act. Someone doing something for another person that is not in their own best interest, but they do it anyway, and you're transported to God's presence. And yes, you can also love someone. Anyone. And that love will take you higher and higher and higher until you're right there. The veikut. You are clinging to God. No ladder necessary, no special training, just love. And that is why I love Judaism, which, by the way, was very difficult for me, because when I was their age, I was an atheist. My father was a rabbi. I had to be an atheist. It was that or drugs and other things, right? And what happened for me, I just want to tell this one story, is that I went to Israel for the first time to study at the Tel Aviv University. And as they do, they take you on tours, tiulim. And it was a hot day, and they take us to Jerusalem, and we're walking in the old city, and suddenly we come upon the wall, the kotel. And I was like, it's a wall. It's nice, just a wall. And then a few months later, I came back to Jerusalem. I was visiting a friend of mine at Hebrew University. It was in the evening. I was walking alone. I see that same wall. It looks beautiful somehow. I go into the kotel. Something had me, I'm shy. Something caused me to lean against the wall and to say the Shema. And suddenly I felt that neshama, that soul. And friends, I tell you, it literally climbed the ladder out of my body and hovered And suddenly, I wasn't an atheist anymore. And that led me right here to this moment. So, kids, I want you to love being Jewish. Not because we have to huddle together against hate, because what we share is a stairway to heaven. And when we climb that stairway, we say to ourselves, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov. How great is our God, who is good. Ki le'olam chasto. Because God's loving presence is with us only, if only we take that stairway to heaven.